All right, so we're here at Red Ghost Gun Shop today with Jim. And so Jim, tell us your story.
Okay. So I'm a transplant to the Evansville area. I'm originally from northern New Jersey.
Really?
Yep. And I tell people all the time that if you're not familiar with New Jersey's gun laws, you don't want to be because they're draconian, they're terrible. But a side effect of that is that if you get into guns in New Jersey and you find a shop where you get into guns, like you're immediately treated like family.
Okay.
Right. So I got into firearms between high school and college. I worked as an engineering technician for the U.S. military on a military base, and we dealt with ammunition. And the guys I worked with, couple of guys I worked with, were really big into firearms. And so I got into reading gun forms and that kind of stuff because that was the age that I am. I'm old enough that I remember when gun forms were a big thing. And they took me shooting. And when I turned 21, when I was in college, I worked that job every summer and every winter break while I was in school. And I had worked it all through my senior year of high school. So my senior year of college, right after I turned 21, I bought my first two guns from a local dealer. He was a small FFL, worked out of his house. But when I went down to school, the town that I went to college in had an indoor range in town. And so I joined the indoor range, and it was a small family mom and pop store, and they were open like from 10 to 5 every day. And then, at least on Friday nights, they would reopen at 6:30, and they were open till 9 o'clock for like evening shoot. And so I would go over every Friday night and shoot and hang out. And I got to know all the regulars, like we were all friends. And that was the Friday night tradition. Sometimes we shot, sometimes we just stood around the counter and had a good old time. I moved to Evansville about a year and a half after I graduated college. And I went looking for a similar experience. And I see a lot of the same in my customers. They'll take a day and they drive from shop to shop to shop to shop, and they see what all the gun shops have, which is great, right? Because everybody's got something a little bit different, and particularly with used stuff, you never know what inventory is going to look like. But when I did that, I was really looking for a shop that I could call home. I visited all the little shops in Evansville. I wasn't interested in the big stuff. I wasn't interested in the big chain names. I was looking for what I had in New Jersey. And in Indiana, firearms are much more transactional. So it's nowhere near as big of a deal if you're in the gun community or if you have a firearm or you don't. Like, nobody around here cares. New Jersey, it was a big deal. I finally made my way out to Red Ghost, and the previous owner, Terry, and I, we clicked almost from the get-go. We have a very similar background. He was a volunteer firefighter, so we had that we could talk about. And so, we became friendly, right? Like, not super friend, but friendly.
And what year is this?
2007 is when I moved to Evansville. So that fall probably is when I started coming in. I had bought a couple guns from one of our competitors, or Red Ghost's competitors at the time. Even though I wasn't treated very well, they had a couple guns I really wanted, and they're two guns that are still in my collection, that I highly prize, and I'm really happy to have.
What are they?
One's a Ruger 2245, which is the first handgun I ever shot, and a buddy from the military base that I worked on, he had one. And then the other one was an HK P7, which is a very unique firearm. We have it, it's actually sitting next door in the shop on display. But in 2007, they were just re-importing guns that were West German police trade-ins. So it was the last time they were available on the open market at a reasonable price. And I was lucky enough to snag one. So I bought those two guns from this competitor, even though I had no job. I had no income, and between the two of them, it was like $1,200 worth of stuff, right? So it was pretty good that I had saved some money.
What's the prices for those now? How much would you spend?
The Ruger's probably, the current generations run anywhere from $400 to $650, depending on exactly what you go. The P7s, probably $1,500 to $2,000 for the one I've got. Different models and variations of P7 can go as high as $3,500, $4,000. And there's a company now making new reproduction. They're obviously not HKs, but they're the same design, and they start at $3,500, I think. So they're pretty expensive. Understand that they're all machine metal, which is more expensive to make than the current crop of most guns now are made out of polymer. So you mill the mold, and then you can make 10,000 copies of it for the cost of machining it once. Whereas these were fairly intricate, and you had to machine each individual piece. And again, if you want to see that one later, we could put it apart and show what's kind of different about it when we go next door. So I did that, right? I got to know Terry, and we had some background in common. And I was working a job in Newburgh, and I had joined the German Township Firehouse, which is just down the road from the shop. And I had training 2 nights a week out at the firehouse. And so like I would leave Newburgh and I would drive up 69 and across Boone and Harmony, and I would shoot back and I'd stop and talk to Terry for 15, 20 minutes before he closed, and then I'd go down to the fire station for training. And that period continued. And in November 2008, so been around about a year, like we're getting fairly friendly. 2008, November, Barack Obama got elected to be president. And the gun world went crazy. So I don't know if it was the day after the election, the next day I stopped in, whatever it was, but I stopped in and our parking lot was full. And for those of you that visit our store, like our lot's not super big, but it was like standing room only. Like the lot was just jam-packed. So I snuck in and I walked in the door and there was a line of customers that basically circled the entire perimeter of the store. And the store is not very big, but there were probably 30 or 40 people in the shop.
That's a lot of
That's
people.
a lot
That's
of
a
people.
lot of people.
Yeah, it's a lot of people.
Oh.
And so Terry looked up and he's super harried when I walked the door and he saw me. He goes, "Oh, good, it's you. Get behind the counter and start handing people guns. Like help them find what they want. I will do all the paperwork. Like I will do all the money." And it grew from there, right? So I was just helping people find what they wanted in the case and talking them through, and it grew over the course of several.
And you didn't work here.
I didn't work here. I wasn't getting paid. It was just I was a well-known customer, and it was a one-man band, right? Like Terry was the only employee. Every once in a while, like if he went out of town, like his brother would cover or something. But that I showed up, right, and he pressed me into service, and he treated me right. Like after that point, like I started to get a discount. Like I still didn't get paid, but I got a discount,
Yeah.
right? So things grew. I was still working at the time. I was working full time for AMR in Evansville, and the way my schedule worked out, we used to get truck orders. So he would order stuff from a couple of suppliers, and they would send over the road trucks, and so they'd show up with a pallet full of stuff. And the days that the pallets arrived were days I was off. So I would literally drive from home up, and I'd sit and help put stuff in inventory in the computer and put stuff out on display. And we had a lot of really good conversations. Terry took me to SHOT Show a couple times, like paid my way to go to Vegas with him, like paid for my accommodations, paid for all the meals, like the whole 9 yards, right? So a couple of really neat trips to Vegas. Despite what everybody says, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of walking. But we did that a couple times. And then there were a couple years where he eventually got to the point where he trusted me to like run the shop while he went to SHOT Show.
Nice.
So I'd be in the shop all by myself. Did that in 2012, I think it was the end of 2011, Sandy Hook happened. It was the end of 2012, I can't remember exactly when. But immediately in the aftermath of that shooting, which was in December, like I worked SHOT Show that week by myself in the shop. And it was crazy enough that one of Terry's nephews was getting off the bus here and was coming in and restocking shelves behind me because I couldn't keep up. And then I would take his nephew home for the day. So like that was how we staffed that. And Terry and I, in our conversations, we talked about me buying in as a partner or buying him out, or like all the things that we could do and all the places if we were to do it again, what we would do different. I left AMR. I took a job. I have a degree in engineering. I took an engineering job that was up in Pittsburgh. My wife stayed here. My wife stayed here. But I was gone. I took the job because it paid really, really well. So I came back and I had a nest egg. And when
How long were you up there?
I worked that job for 18 months, but I was there for 6. About 6 months in, they asked me if I could. They had a meeting about ways to save money. I said, "Hey guys, you're paying me a per diem to live up here. Like my house is in Evansville. Like let me just go home and work from home, and I'll do the same." And they, okay, we can do that. So that's what we did.
Nice.
So I got another year where I was doing that. So at the end of that, my wife and I had a nest egg put up, and we sat and talked to Terry, and we bought in as partners. So that was in 2015, June of 2015. So we just hit the 10-year anniversary of when that happened.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
So what does buying in with a partnership look like? Like, I feel like that would be a lot of legal, I'm not sure.
Yeah, so the nice part about it was Terry had previously established the business as a corporation, and it had 100 shares in it, right? So all we did was we valued the shares. We took the value of the business, we divided it by 100, so you knew what each share cost. And the money that I had to make towards a down payment, like that's what I paid for it. So I became I think it was an 8% owner. Like I didn't own 50%. Like Terry was still the majority owner. He owned basically the whole thing, but I had a stake in the business.
Okay.
And so at that point, the engineering job had ended, the contract job doing engineering had ended, and I was working at Posey EMS, and then shortly after I transitioned to Scott Fire, which doesn't make a difference. The schedule was very much the same. I worked 24s, where I was on call at the station for EMS or for the ambulance or the fire department, whichever. And then I was off for a period of time.
So 24 hours in one go.
Yeah. So like you go to work at Posey, it was 8 o'clock. At Scott, it was 7 o'clock. But you go to work and you're there at the station for 24 hours, and then you're off for at least 24 hours. But what we did is days that I was on shift, Terry would cover the shop, and days that I was off shift, I would cover the shop.
Okay.
And it's a rotating schedule, so the days change every week. It's a little confusing, a little messy. We had some growing pains, but about a year later, we sat down, still friendly, like still no problems. Like, and Terry was, when I was here, like he'd swing by, like we'd just talk, and there was no big issue. But a year later, one night we were both here and we're working on something, and Terry says to me, hey man, I really like this being quasi-retired thing. What do we have to do to make it so I can be permanently retired, right? So Terry started the shop when he started it back in the 90s. It was a second job for him. He'd already worked a career and retired.
So 90s is when it opened.
Yeah.
And is it true that you're the gun shop that's been open the longest in Evansville
As far
area?
as I know in the Evansville area,
Okay.
yes.
That's what I heard, but I didn't.
Yeah. I can't think off the top of my head of anybody in Vanderburgh County that's been open longer than we have. If there's somebody out there who knows that, please tell me.
Leave a comment.
Right? Like, let us know. But that's one of the things we claim, right? And all of my advertising says like we've been serving the Evansville area for 25 plus years, because honestly I know it predates 2000, but without going back and looking at the records for like when we first got our first guns in and all that stuff, like I'm not 100% sure what it looks like. And the first few years were super small.
Yeah, I believe it.
So Terry and I came to an agreement. We sat down with my wife. We came up with a price and a way to finance it. And we met with a lawyer, drew up a contract, and I bought Terry out in 2016. So September will be 9 years that we've owned it outright. And then the real work started.
Yeah.
So we struggled a little bit early on. Terry wanted to retire, so trying to find someone that could fill shoes. We initially, for the first 5 or 6 years, did part-timers, and we kept adding one part-timer here and a part-timer there. And a year and a half ago, we were dealing with basically a different person working every day. And maybe 2 years ago, we were at that point. And then we decided we brought somebody on full-time. I'm still not in the business every day. I still work, currently I work for both Vanderburgh County Fire Department and AMR. I go to the station when I'm on duty for the fire department, and I do the AMR stuff, sometimes from the station, sometimes from here. Sometimes I have to go into the office, but I have some of that flexibility, so it just depends on where I'm at. But I have a couple of full-time guys now. We've grown to 2 full-time guys. We've added a bunch of different services that we didn't have when Terry and I first started, or when I first bought Terry out. We added NFA stuff, so we're real big into the suppressor world, which has been great for us. We had a good customer. He's been a customer of the gun shop longer than I've been around, but we convinced him to come to work for us on the counter side. I want to say in 2017, but it might have been 2018. Don't quote me on it exactly when it was. He worked about 1 month, and we've been after him for years to go to gunsmithing school. He worked for us for like a month or 6 weeks, and he goes, "That's it, I'm going to gunsmithing school." Because he was always like, "Oh, there's not enough demand for it." Well, he went to gunsmithing school, and so now he's affiliated with us. He has a workshop here in the shop. He's got a machine shop. He does all our gunsmithing work.
Nice.
So he is still part-time. He's got another full-time job that he's looking to retire from in a couple years, and then I'm hoping to see him more hours. He does great work. Sometimes he gets a little backlogged. It just depends on what his full-time job looks like. He's trying to get his daughter through college before he retires.
Respectable.
Yeah, right. So we did that. The last couple years, we started up a training group. So I have a group of very talented instructors that do instruction. And then the other challenge has been in 2018, we bought the building that the shop's in, again from Terry. Terry owned it. And we've been slowly, I won't say renovating, because most of it's literally just paint on walls and that kind of stuff, but cleaning areas out and repurposing them and making them work for us. So like we added the area for the gunsmith.
And where's that at? Is that?
It's actually his working room is there,
Okay.
and then the machine shop is on the far side because it goes back down to concrete, so it's solid surface for his mill and his lathe and stuff, which you don't want those things to vibrate because they're way too heavy to be above a basement. But we've put substantial money into the building. We had to redo the roof. We had to put a B-dry system in the basement, like just some of that stuff.
There's a basement here?
Yeah, we're actually.
You got a whole empire.
The building is about 5,000 square feet, minus 2 carports that are in the back. There is an apartment in the back that we use as offices and stuff. My wife has also used some of the office space now. She has a separate business doing bookkeeping for small businesses.
Sweet.
So like she has an office here and an office at the house. It just depends on where she feels like working today. We did some time in 2017, I think it was. We bought a laser engraver, and so we had about a 5 or 6 year stint where we had Red Ghost custom engraving, where we did laser engraving stuff. We've gotten out of that. We leased that machine to somebody else and moved on. But we still do. We're not affiliated. Like we don't have any stake in it, but we still go to them for work. We still have work done. So. But it's been a lot of that kind of stuff. The training stuff, that's kind of like the next thing we're trying to get to take off. And like I said, I have some very talented people, and some of them, all they do for us is training. Like they're not in the shop, like they're not here.
Where do you do the training?
So we have a couple of options for training. We do some classroom stuff here, and we'll talk about that safety seminar here in a little while, I guess. But I'm a member. The business pays for me to be a member at both Westside Sportsman's Club, which is on the west side of Evansville, and then Red Brush Rifle Range, which is over Newburgh. So I'm a member of both. I will use either one. Sportsman's Club, I do a lot more one-on-one stuff, and when I'm doing one-on-one stuff, I tend to pick whichever range is closest for the customer, right? So if they're an East Side person, like I'll go to Red Brush. If they're a West Side person, they want to go to Sportsman's Club, we'll go to Sportsman's Club. There are some people that have issues with one or the other for political reasons. I don't want to get into that. Like I'm happy.
The East Side, West Side?
East Side, West Side.
Oh, man, yeah.
Requirements to be a member at one or the other. But I'm a member of both. I shoot at both. Like I have a good time at both. So I kind of play it by ear, like whichever. So we've done some of that stuff. Like I told you before we started, we just got the training room kind of set up within the last month. And so we're looking to build out stuff here. We've done one gun safety. We just signed back up with U.S. Law Shield, so we're hoping to hold some legal seminars in this room as well. I have a holster clinic in the works, so like we can just talk about how different holsters work and why one might work for you or not.
Okay.
And just some of that stuff. So that's all going to be like non-shooting stuff, right? Like would be here. If we want to go use the range, like we're going to get to Sportsman's Club or Red Brush, and just depending on the day. Both those ranges, when I use them, like I pay a fee to the range, which is fine. Like that's part of it. But we're all about building safe and proficient gun owners, so that if you do have to use a firearm in self-defense or hunting or whatever, right, you're safe about it. You know how to be safe with it, and nobody gets hurt.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. So I mentioned the safety seminar. June was National Gun Safety Month.
Really? I had no idea. Actually.
Yeah, and so we had been working. So one of the challenges with doing what I do, right, and working as many places as I work, is sometimes finding time to do things. Your priorities shift and change with the day, the minute, or the hour. So we had been working for 3 or 4 years, I think, to get this room all cleaned up and into be a training room. And we'd make progress, and then it would sit for a couple months, and it would fill back up with stuff. Right, like this became the easy dumping ground for everything next door, so the beginning of June-ish this year, there was a tragedy in Evansville where a toddler lost his life after finding a firearm that wasn't properly stored in his father's house, and I have friends on the ambulance side who made the run. I have friends on the fire side who made the run. I have friends on the law enforcement side who made the run. And it's one of those things that as responsible gun owners, we have some level of obligation to prevent that from happening if we can, right? So to make sure we store our stuff well. So we decided, our leadership team, my wife and I, Chris the manager, and my marketing guy, we got together and we said like, hey, we're gonna do a gun safety seminar. We're gonna hold it at the training room, and this is gonna be the impetus to get the training room done. When I say it was the impetus to get the training room done, the day that the seminar was scheduled to happen, I was putting the AC ductwork in for the AC unit in this room, and obviously AC doesn't work super well because it is still a little warm in here, although it's much warmer outside. So,
it's outrageous outside right now.
Yeah, it's not nice outside. And so like that's one of the next things we're gonna do is like figure out how to fix the AC to get it to work. But
yeah,
honestly, the system that's in there is probably too small for what it is, and but it's just one step at a time. So I think when fall hits, this will be a very nice room to be in.
Yeah.
Right, and so like we're really looking forward to doing more stuff here. So that's where we're at. We went from one guy that owned it as an owner-operator to now I have 2 full-time guys. My wife does all the financials. I give guidance. I work the shop occasionally. I do a bunch of the training. And just in the last 6 months, I found a marketing guy, a buddy that does social media stuff. So he's handling most of our social media stuff. So he gets paid a commission. He doesn't really get, commission's the wrong word. He gets paid a flat fee, but he does that stuff on his time kind of thing. So he doesn't have to come down to the shop very often.
So you have a really fascinating story. You've been everywhere. You're doing everything.
Been a few places. And
Yeah.
How's that commercial go? We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two?
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
So do you plan to do this full time and cut the other stuff?
So the thing about the fire service or the ambulance service, whichever, right? They're jobs, but they're also passions. So even when I got out of working for Scott Fire in 2020 full time, and I went back to AMR as a supervisor on the full time side, I have stayed a volunteer firefighter. I've been a volunteer firefighter since 1999. So
That's a long time.
I was 15 when I started in the fire service. I'm 41 now. I have lived more than half of my life. I've been attached to a fire service in some way, shape, or form. And I was in my EMT class when the towers came down on 9/11.
Really?
So to put that in perspective, again, I grew up in northern New Jersey. I have friends that worked the pile on 9/11. People that I'm close to that I pick up the phone call today would take my phone call. So like that's an integral part of my life. I don't foresee myself ever walking away from it altogether. I may at some point have enough income from the business or from working for myself that I decide that the fire service isn't what I want to do. But then again, the 24-hour shifts make it nice, right? I work 10 days a month. So I worked this week, I worked Tuesday, and I worked yesterday, and I'll work tomorrow, and then I'm off again until next Thursday. Yeah, so I'll have 4 full days off. And as long as I work at a station that is slow enough business-wise, like I'm free to do work for here or whatever while I'm there. So right now I don't have to be in the business full-time. I would love to see it get to that point. But there's some other challenges that we have to get to overcome before we do that, right? And one of the chief ones is I work full time because that's how my family gets benefits. Yeah. So like that's one of the things that we look at, right? Benefits is a huge thing, right? Like, and my wife and I are still young enough that it's not a huge thing yet. We hope, right? But it could become a huge thing tomorrow. So that's one of the things that we chase, and we're not quite at the point yet where we're ready to do that through the business. So. Yeah, maybe in about 10 years when I have the business paid off. Like that's awesome. That's the next step. So
let's get into some fun stuff. That was great. That was fun.
It's a long, convoluted story, but it's kind of interesting. So
what's like your favorite gun?
Favorite for what?
I don't know. Like if you're like you got an itch, you're like I want to shoot. Like what are you picking up?
Man, so it's weird. I was very much an anti-Glock guy for the first, 6 or 8 years I was into guns. Like I was anti-Glock, couldn't give me one. And I bought my first Glock from Terry. It was a Glock 19. It came with a light on it. I still have that gun. It is no longer in the configuration I bought it from Terry from. It's had everything under the sun done to it. And now I am about the most diehard Glock fanboy you can ever imagine. Now, part of that's because they just work, right? I like Glocks for the same reason I like Apple products. Like I live in the Apple ecosystem other than my computer, iPad, iPhone, AirPods, Apple Watch, whole 9 yards, right? It's all Apple because it all just works together. Like you don't have to think about it; it just works.
Well, we're sitting on Glock stools.
Yeah.
So.
So Terry was a big Glock guy. I say big Glock guy. He has a couple of Glocks, not, but he was real big on in the shop for the same reason, right? They're a reliable gun at a reasonable price point. People call them the Honda Civic of the gun world. But realistically, in 2025, I tell people, like, if you're looking for your first gun, buy a full size or compact, not subcompact, not the super small stuff, but full size or compact striker fired 9mm from the brand of your choice or whatever fits in your hands, right? So Glock has an offering in there, Smith has an offering in there, CZ has an offering in there, SIG has an offering in there that I recommend and one that I don't at the moment, and that's a whole other controversy. HK has one, Ruger has one, like they're across the board, right? And Walther has a couple, like pick the one that you like. I'm not gonna tell you you're right or wrong. When I bought my first Glock, the Glock 19, Glock was the only manufacturer that had that size envelope firearm that met the criteria that I wanted. And so I ended up with a Glock. And now I have so many Glock holsters and so many Glock magazines and so many Glock accessories that I can't ever see myself transitioning away because I would have a small fortune in the accessories. In addition to that, because I'm on the fire side, I'm eligible for Glock Believable Pro pricing, which makes life easy. Gets a fairly significant discount. We're a Believable dealer, so if you're in the first responder world or retired military, come see us. We'll hook you up with Glocks at a great price. So like that's all super attractive to me. That said, I have some really esoteric stuff in my collection. Two of them, they're sitting next door, and we can go get her, or we can go over there and talk about. I have a couple of HKs. I have a VP70Z, which is the gun. It was a gun that was made famous in the movie Aliens from the mid '80s.
Okay, yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So when they're in the air vents and they pull the pistol, that's an HK VP70. What's unique about the VP70 is it is the first ever polymer framed handgun, right? So when I was a collector of firearms, like when I was building a gun collection, like I saw one of those available for sale and I snagged it because I was like, that's cool, I want one of those. I've shot it a handful of times. Like it's still neat to talk about, but it's not what I grabbed to go shoot at the range. I mentioned earlier the HK P7 I've got, same deal, like mid 80s gun, super complex, super unique, super cool. I shoot mine occasionally, but honestly in 2025, like I am a red dot on pistols aficionado. I like the weapon light on my carry guns, so that P7 can't do either of those things without extensive modifications that I'm not willing to do to a gun that's almost as old as I am.
Oh yeah.
Right. So it sees less trigger time. But if I'm looking to just shoot for enjoyment, the three guns I tend to reach for, the Glock 17 I'm carrying today, which is just tried and true, like my preferred big gun. I shot IDPA with it on Sunday. It's a full-size gun. It has an RMR on it. It's got a light on it. Like I really enjoy that. I kind of own, it's technically the shop's, but it's out in my name because I keep it at home, a Staccato P-Series 2011, which is just an absolute dream to shoot. I would love to have one of their XCs because I've shot one and I like it even better than the P, but the Staccato P-Series is just an absolute love to shoot that gun if I want something a little bit crisper, a little bit cleaner than the Glock. And then the other one is kind of a weird one. Ethan, one of my full-time guys, he has one, and the last time we all went to the range as a group, we got to shoot it a little bit, and I really liked it, and so I liked it so much I bought one of my own, and that's a Taurus TX22, which is a 22 long rifle rimfire pistol. The one that Ethan has, the one that I bought, cut for a red dot, threaded barrel for a suppressor. It'll work in some of the holsters that I use for some of the bigger stuff, like you can do all the weapons manipulation that you do with the full-size gun, but you're shooting 22 long rifles, so at the end of 100 rounds, you've burned $8 or $9 or $10 and not 30 or 40 or 50, depending on what you're shooting for your 9mm or whatever practice ammo. And it's just pleasant, right? It's just fun. And then I have rifles and stuff too, so it depends on whether I want to do precision stuff, which is a bolt action setup, or I have ARs obviously in 5.56, and then I have ARs in 22. If I want to shoot the 22, and like Sportsman's Club, they have Cowboy Town, which is a really neat place to shoot. But Cowboy Town, you have to shoot either rimfire or plain lead bullets. Well, Glock can't take a plain lead bullet. and really you don't run plain lead through rifles very often. So like if I want to go shoot on Cowboy Town, which is a ton of fun because it's all steel, I'll take my 22s down there. Like, and I can do all the things that I do with my full size guns with the 22 versions of them. And then even weirder than that, when COVID hit and you couldn't get ammo, nobody could get ammo, we started carrying BB guns. So I also have a Glock clone in a BB gun and an AR clone in a BB gun.
No way.
And so even though I have house all the way around me on the property that I own out in Posey County, like where I'm not necessarily comfortable shooting just for enjoyment of rifle, even a rimfire rifle, like the BB gun I can shoot in the backyard and I know where the BBs are going to go. They're going to stay on my property. They're not going to hit anybody else, right? So I maintain that level of safety. And my wife thought I was crazy when I bought them. She's like, why would you buy BB guns? Like, you're a gun shop owner. Why would you buy BB guns? I was like, because I'm a gun shop owner who can't get ammo. Like, I own the gun store and I can't get enough ammo to shoot.
Oh,
and the BB gun is still trigger time. Like, I have video from where we set it up next to the shop and I let some of my buddies shoot it and giggled. Like, because the AR version is full auto. It's absolutely like you shoot it and you just giggle. So
that's so fun. Well, 2020 ammo was,
if you could find it, it was insane. But
I just got one of my first guns.
Yeah.
I had just turned 18.
Okay.
And so I'm like 18 and 50 rounds. I'm like, this is nothing. What can I do? And then there's no ammo.
Yeah.
So I would stand in line at Academy.
Yep.
For like 2-3 hours in the morning to get in.
Hoping that you got something.
Yeah, and you get like 2 boxes.
Yeah. It was
in the snow. It was like the most like story of like when I was a kid, building the lore.
It was like that in 2000, in 2020 or 2012, right after Sandy Hook. Red Ghost, Terry, limited people to the point where like you could only get ammo for any of the common calibers, 22, 9mm, 5.56, whatever. You only had the option to buy ammo if you bought a gun.
Really?
Right? Like we had ammo in the back room, but it was only available
Did you sell more
if you
guns
bought a
because
gun.
of it?
Not really.
Okay.
But what we were trying to do was we were trying to make it so that if you bought a gun from us, we had ammo to sell you, right? Because otherwise, if we put the ammo out on the shelf, like it was just gone. So we did something similar to that again at COVID, you know, and I remember paying almost $1 a round, 80 cents a round for 9mm practice ammo, right? Like, you know, $40 a box for 50 rounds, and we're selling it for $50, $55 a box, like, and people would be like, I'll take 2 boxes, and I'm like, okay, like. And I would tell people then, like, remember this. Like, these are first-time gun buyers, right? And they've never bought a gun before because that was the era of new gun buyers. Remember this, because 5 years from now, when the price has dropped, because the price will drop, like, it may not go down to what it was, but it'll drop, come back and buy a case of ammo. Like, take a case and stick it in the shelf. Ammo doesn't eat anything. If you keep it in a cool, dry place, like, it'll last forever, virtually forever. We have ammo next door that was made in Evansville during World War II.
Really?
Yeah, let me circle back to that because that's a cool thing. But that ammo, like, it doesn't hurt anything. Like, you spend a couple $100s and it gives you security for the rest of your life. On the Evansville thing, one of the things that I'm really proud of that we're working towards at Red Ghost, there's a wall of guns behind the counter. And the story with those is you have to convince me as the owner that you want them more than I do. But most of the guns up there, or a fair number of the guns up there, and what we really look for stuff is stuff that was made in the Evansville area, made in Indiana, made around here. And so there's 5 or 6 guns up there that were made in Evansville that we've collected. We also managed to get a half a box of 45 ammo that was made in Evansville back during World War II. So that's awesome. That's kind of neat. Like there's an M1 Garand over there. There's an AR-9 that was made by Mag Tactical, which was in Newburgh.
Okay.
So like some of that stuff, like it's just kind of neat to have.
Are they
that
still
stuff.
there in Newburgh? Or have
No, Mag Tactical closed.
Okay.
They were there in 2012, closed. I don't remember. I'd have to go back and look. But yeah, so we had some of their stuff.
Because we have Freedom Ordnance.
We have Freedom Ordnance. I have some of those in the shop. Those are great guys.
Do you have any of the
I do not have any of the cranks. Actually, we tend to keep Freedom Ordnance stuff in the shop. I think we sold our last one a couple weeks ago and we haven't replaced it yet, but we will. I have 3 over there now that Freedom actually donated to Westside Sportsman's Club for their big annual IDPA shoot, which is coming up in October. So both Red Brush and Sportsman's Club do a huge sanctioned IDPA match. So they'll bring in shooters from like Texas will come to Evansville to shoot these matches, and they give away prizes and stuff. And so Freedom is the sponsor for Sportsman's clubs Holiday Havoc this year, and so they'll give away 3 Freedom Ordnance rifles or pistols. I'm not sure which they are.
Well, they have the belt fed coming
They do,
out.
yeah.
It looks pretty
They have all
sick.
kinds of neat stuff over there. So
And you can attach them, if I'm not mistaken, you can attach them on to your regular 5.56 AR platform. You
on the
can't
belt
take
fed,
any
yes,
mags,
I
but
think
you can
so.
run
Yeah.
which is pretty
Yep.
cool.
Yep, it is. It's kind of neat. So, but we like supporting local stuff, right? One of the more recent manufacturers that we picked up in the shop that we're starting to carry, they're made in Indiana. I'd have to go look exactly where they are. Mercury, I think it's Mercury. Suppressors, they build a nice little rimfire, super light titanium can. We have 2 of those in the shop now, and then we just started carrying front of rifle systems, 4 systems. Build a bigger suppressor for rifles.
Nice.
But again, they're made in Evansville, or not in Evansville, but in Indiana. So like we like to support. There are times where I look at stuff to bring into the shop, and I will say yes simply because it's another Indiana company. It's like I like to support somebody else from Indiana. So
That's
yeah,
it.
yeah, it's kind of neat.
So what's the play right now in suppressors? Should we all go buy a suppressor? Should we wait till the beginning of next year?
So it's a mess, and what I've been telling everybody is like make your own decisions, but pay attention to what's going on. So we have started. We'll let people buy suppressors now, and you pay for it now, and we'll hold it until January so we can process the paperwork January 1 with the 0 tax stamp on it. That's completely kosher, completely legal. We're doing that today. I think we started doing that this week. We had our first person take us up on that. But there's a risk to that, right? I don't know how much you're paying attention, but the big beautiful bill was signed into law on July 4th. It'll take effect in January 1, which is awesome. It drops the transfer tax on NFA items, except machine guns and destructive devices, to $0.
So that includes SBRs, right?
That includes SBRs, SBSs, any other weapons. It does not include destructive devices, which is anything with a bore bigger than half inch. So some of the anti-tank rifles and stuff would be destructive devices, and then grenade launchers are destructive devices, or machine guns. The problem is the very next appropriations bill that is in Congress now, there's an amendment been added to it that takes the tax stamp fee from $0, where it currently sits in federal legislation, to $4,709. No idea how they came up with that number, but $4,709
for registering.
for every item. So potentially, if that bill goes through and that amendment is attached to the bill and it gets signed into law, then your $200 stamp is going to go from $200 to almost $5,000.
I haven't heard that anywhere.
That hit
Is that like
yesterday.
yesterday?
That's yesterday. I was seeing it. So that's why I tell people understand there's a risk in everything. Now, being truthful, I don't think that amendment's going to go anywhere. I honestly don't. But if you look at the $200 tax on a suppressor versus having it now, right, and you look at your lifetime of ownership, the $200 at the end of the day is pennies a day.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's not, but some people don't want to pay it, and that's fine. I've also had a fair number of customers who've said that they're not going to buy a suppressor until there is no registry, and that's a fine position to have as well. I will tell you that if you shoot a suppressed rifle, and then you shoot next to someone who has an unsuppressed rifle, you will decide that the person with the unsuppressed rifle is a heathen who should be beaten upside the head, right? I tell people that all the time in the shop. You shoot suppressed, and you will decide you never want to shoot unsuppressed again.
My buddy's got a 300 blackout suppressed. Oh, it's so nice.
Yeah, you shoot it and giggle.
You do, and you're like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then, so he's got it, and then my buddy's coming over literally in an hour or two. He's supposed to sign to get his.
So
I'm like, well, I mean, I need one, right? So
I tell the story. One of the things we did a few years back, it might have been pre-COVID. One of my best friends really likes precision rifle shooting, and the National Rifle League was starting a 22 division, so NRL 22, and the beautiful part about NRL 22 was you could shoot it at a range with 100 yards or less. So we could shoot it. We were both members at Sportsman's Club. We could shoot it on their rifle range, and it was relatively cheap to get started because you're shooting 22 long rifles, right? So not super expensive. And the steel pack was not super expensive. So Red Ghost ponied up the money. We bought and sponsored. We bought the steel pack and we sponsored the matches for the first year. Well, before we held our first local match, 4 of us that were going to help run the matches got together. And we shot a sample match. And so we took turns shooting and looking at glass and looking at the targets and just to get a feel for it. Two of us were shooting suppressed 22s, two of us shooting non-suppressed 22s. It was hot, but we were out there for 3 or 4 hours. Like, we were having a grand old time. And the guy shows up, and he's on the range, and he gets out an M1A from Springfield, so the SOCOM model, so the 16-inch variant, and he trips off one magazine of 10 rounds, and we all looked at each other and said, yep, it's time to go home. Like, packed it up and left, because he was shooting a 16-inch 308, and it was just absolutely, the concussion under the canopy was just absolutely insane. So, yeah, I'm particularly on rifles, I'm a huge fan of suppressors. On pistols, they're a little bit harder for utilize for day-to-day life, but there's virtually no reason on a rifle like that you don't have a suppressor in Indiana. Obviously, if you go to like places west where you can't legally own one, then you can't have a suppressor. But you live in Indiana, buy a suppressor for your gun.
For real.
So
I have a question. I heard this, and my buddy told me this, and I haven't looked it up yet.
Sure.
So if you have a 10-inch barrel, and then you put a suppressor on it, you get your full 16 inches. Do you have to get a...
So the thing is, if you cannot readily remove the suppressor, and so the way ATF interprets that is permanently attached. So the current, and it doesn't have to be a suppressor necessarily, but the suppressor is the longer one that you see happen the most often. But basically you have to weld the suppressor into the barrel. Okay, so like it becomes part of the barrel at that point. The other place you see that happen frequently in rifles is muzzle devices that are pinned and welded, is the term. So you drill a blind hole through the muzzle device into the barrel just a little bit. You put the pin in it so you can't back the muzzle device off, and you put a weld over top of it so you can't readily pull that pin out. That ATF considers that to be permanently attached. And so we have a rifle next door, and it's actually one of the rifles that I really like. It's a Sons of Liberty Gunworks rifle. It's a 13.7-inch barrel with their muzzle device pinned and welded on it to make it just over 16 inches long. Nice. Their muzzle device is also a suppressor mount, so like it makes it it takes that 2.5 inches and it puts it inside the suppressor instead of outside the suppressor if you suppress the rifle.
Okay.
So, does that make sense?
That does make sense. Yeah.
And there's a couple manufacturers that do that. You can do it one of two ways. You could buy a shorter barrel, thread a can on it, and have somebody weld it for you. That's obviously a valid option. The other option is that you can. There are several manufacturers that build an integrally suppressed setup, so like it's all one piece, and you can't take the suppressor off. So
sweet, that's awesome.
Yeah,
learn something new every day.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. It's a niche market, but it's kind of cool.
And they make it so much more complicated than it should be.
So the thing about the gun industry, or industries in general, but particularly the gun industry, is that gun people and gun engineers can engineer faster than legislators can legislate. And so for those that are familiar with California's another draconian state, but they passed an assault weapons ban. And they said, then the assault weapons ban that they had passed was not good enough, and you needed to have, your rifle needed to use a tool to remove the magazine. Like you couldn't have a button to get the magazine out, you had to, and so someone designed a button that replaced the mag release on a standard AR, and the tool was a loaded round of ammunition, so they called it the bullet button. So like you used the bullet to push the button to get the magazine to fall out, right? Like it was kind of neat. Well, then the legislators came back and they said, oh, that's not good enough. You can still load it too fast. It's still too dangerous. And so they passed a new legislation that said you had to partially disassemble your rifle to reload it was what they had to do. And so somebody came along with an AR, and basically what they did is they changed, I think, the direction that the pin, the rear retaining pin, the rear takedown pin slides out, and they put a ring on it. So you can literally pull the ring, and after you pull the ring, the upper and lower will split, right? And they had taken the tool part of the language out. And so if you did that, you could run a standard configuration lower with the regular button. So as soon as you pulled that pin, you could press the button to drop your magazine, put a new magazine in it, and push the pin into the side. Like, so, but literally the engineering change was released like 24 hours after the legislation was passed through the House. Like it wasn't even signed into law yet, and the workaround was there. So it's one of those things, right? The short-barreled rifle on the NFA, historically, when the NFA was first proposed, pistols were going to be on the National Firearms Act. They were going to make it so you had to pay a $200 tax stamp if you want to buy a handgun. And so the legislator said, well, if they're going to do that, people will just take rifles and shotguns and make them shorter to make them concealable, because that was the big scare. They were worried about concealable guns. So they'll just make rifles and shotguns shorter. And at the very last second, pistols were pulled off the NFA. Well, here we are almost 100 years later, and SIG introduces their SIG brace that you put on an AR that is not a stock. It allows you to shoot an AR pistol with one hand, and so it's a brace, not a stock, so it doesn't make it a short-barreled rifle. And so now we have the braces all over the place, and then they're legal for 10 plus years, and then ATF comes along and says, oh no, most braces in fact make your rifle a short-barreled rifle, despite the fact that we've written letters before that it doesn't change the configuration of the firearm to make it an SBR. So to be fair, like, the legislation is there, but the answer is ATF should be petitioning with the gun owners to remove short-barreled rifles from the NFA. Like, there's no reason that a 10.5-inch AR-15 is any more dangerous than a 16-inch AR. So there's no reason that one is more heavily regulated than the other. But the rules, the engineers will figure out a way around your rules faster than you can build rules. Working in supervision, leadership, owning a business, whatever you want to call it, I'm fond of saying, like, don't make a rule or a policy that you know won't be followed, right? You see it happen in Evansville, and I don't disagree with it, but you can't smoke within 8 feet of an entrance anywhere in town, right? Because that's either a city ordinance or state law. I don't know what it is, but it's. But how often do you see people walk immediately out a door and smoke a cigarette, right? Like, and there's no enforcement of it, right? You wrote a policy that you know won't be followed. Why? How do we enforce that? Like, and then the other problem that ATF has is their enforcement options are, they go from we don't enforce it at all to we throw the book at you and you go to jail for 10 years. Like, there's virtually no. They have no options in the middle, and that makes it really tough. Makes it really tough on their end. And I say that we had an experience a year ago with our local ATF guys. Our local ATF guys are great. I have both of our local ATF agents. I have their phone numbers on my phone. Like, I reach out to them on a fairly regular basis. Actually, I was talking to one of them earlier today. We had a problem. They took care of us from the ground up. So, like, I can't say anything negative about our local guys. But some of the political decisions that some of their departments make, I think they don't look through the optics of the decision before they issue the decision and go, oh, this actually has some real impact for a lot of people that we need to be worried about. So, sorry, that was a long-winded answer to your question.
No, it's good. I like it. I'm learning something new. Hopefully they're learning something new.
Hopefully they're still watching.
Hopefully, yeah. No, they should be. Or we'll cut it into 2 episodes.
There you go.
And then
you do that.
You get to watch it twice.
Yeah.
Twice the fun.
Yeah.
Well, hey, you got a shirt for us to
Yeah,
write.
so
Let's take a look.
one of the things that we're most proud of this year, so we've done a couple of runs of t-shirts over the years. This is our new 2025. We actually partnered with 9line.
That's pretty tough.
So we updated the logo, and then from the Mandalorian, we pulled the I'm a Patriot, weapons are part of my religion. So like that's kind of neat. So these are available in the shop. We're still working to get our web store up and loaded, but they'll be on the web store too. So, but come in and see us if you like one.
That's tough.
They're actually super comfortable.
It's pretty soft.
Yeah, it's pretty soft. We did just a couple of hoodies. I don't know how many hoodies we have left. We bought them at the end of spring. Like, it was starting to get warm, like April when they came in. I know I snagged one. I know I wanted at least one, so like we ordered a couple of hoodies, but. When we sell out of t-shirts, we'll do another run of stuff. We buy different merch to have in the shop for.
How much are these running for?
I want to say about 20, but don't quote me on it.
Don't quote him on it.
The biggest problem I have is now I'm not in the shop every day. Like, I don't remember a lot of the pricing.
That's okay.
You know,
it's okay.
It is what it is.
We won't hold you to it.
Yeah, they're hanging up in the shop, and honestly, for guys that come in and buy guns, a lot of times, like if they ask, we throw one in. Like if you're gonna wear my shirt and advertise, like
Heck yeah.
have at it. So we've done hats. We've done a couple different runs of hats. We've done both baseball caps and sock caps, like just that kind of stuff. So, and then
you'll have to do a big 4th of July run for next year, 250.
Yeah.
It's gonna be big stuff.
Yeah, we'll see. We might do something next year for the 10-year anniversary of buying the shop, buying Terry out, like for our customer appreciation day. We might do something kind of neat there. So, but yeah, it's an adventure. One of the things that I want to brag on just a little bit that we've kind of found a unique way to do. One of the things that we're pretty proud of, we do gun fittings.
What's that?
So like someone who is shopping for their first handgun, we like to start in the shop, and it's kind of a one-on-one conversation. Like, I like to be here, I like to handle them, but if not, the guys can do it. And we sit and talk to you about like what job you have for the gun, right? And generally it's handguns, because that's what most people buy first. What job you have for the gun, like what you want to do with it. You know, do you just want it for in the home self-defense? Do you want it for just plinking at the range? Like, do you want to be able to carry it? Like, what's your, and then we have, and we've continued to build a collection of used, what we call rental guns, right? They're not really for rent. Like, you can't come in and get one and take it to the range. But what we do is we meet you at the range, right? So I do the majority of them. So I'll meet you at the range. We find an agreed upon time. We go to the range. I supply the ammo. I supply the guns. I supply enough instruction that like you get a feel for shooting guns. Like, it's, to be clear, it's not an intro to pistol class. Like, that's not what it's. But it's a chance for you to spend some time behind the gun to get a feel for recoil and stuff, to see what you like before you commit to buying that, right? Because
I really like that.
yeah, we've done a bunch of them over the years, and we've worked through some problems with some people. I had a customer who was a student, college student, grad school student, I think, that had some autoimmune deficiency, so she had a really weak grip. And so we took her to the range and we did a fitting with her. And the gun that she ended up liking was a Glock 19, but she liked the Glock 19 that we were using at the range because it had an optic on it. And so because it had an optic on it, she didn't have to try to manipulate the slide. She didn't have to try to grip the slide like you would on a non-dot equipped gun. And so as a follow-up, we did instead, Glocks are popular enough that there are all kinds of assist devices out there for guys that want to turn a Glock into a race gun or whatever. And one of the assist devices, you can replace the backplate on a Glock with a backplate that has a ring in it. So like you just hook your finger in it. There's a couple other options, and they're all available on Amazon, or they were. And I literally like sat down with her at the shop, and we found a couple options on Amazon. Said, here, go order these, bring them in. We'll take the gun apart. We'll put the gun together. You can manipulate it, so you know what it's like to manipulate it in the shop versus, you know, you've shot it on the range, like you know how the recoil is, but now you know how to manipulate it. And whichever one you like the best, we'll leave that one on your gun, and you send the rest back to Amazon. And so that's what she did. She ended up with that ring. She really liked it because she could just hook a finger in the back of it, and she didn't have to worry about trying to grip the slide. So that worked out really, really well for her. So we like those challenges. So like if you have a challenge, come talk to us. Like, we'll be happy to get that in. But I keep a J-frame, a real small snubby and 38 special in that rental gun case, because I have a lot of people that come and say, oh, I want a little revolver. Why do you want a little revolver? Well, that's what my husband told me to get. Like, that's the story we get all the time. Or that's what my friend told me to get because they're easy and whatever. And I'm like, you don't want a little revolver. Like, I promise you, as someone who doesn't own a little revolver, you don't want a little revolver because they're not pleasant to shoot. And I like to shoot. So I'll sell you a little revolver, you'll shoot it once, and you'll say never again. Well, how can you prove that? We'll tell you what. Come to my gun fitting. We'll shoot some 9mm stuff. I'll bring a box of 38 special ammo because I'm still on my first box that's gone to this cause. I'll put 5 in the J-frame. You can shoot it. And if you still want a J-frame when we're done, I will sell you a J-frame and you can have the rest of the box of the ammunition. I will tell you what, I have not given away the box of ammunition yet, and I think I have had one person who decided he wanted that little J-frame revolver when he was done. J-frame revolvers, little revolvers like that, they're guns for well-experienced shooters. They are terrible to shoot well.
Well, they're snappy.
They are very, very snappy. And so like if you're a new shooter, like, again, you're going to shoot that once and go, yep, I'm out. I want no part of this. This isn't fun. But we do some of that. Like, we try to do some education and stuff there. Our philosophy at Red Ghost is we want you as a customer for life. I want you as a customer so that when you think about buying a new firearm, you don't go visit somewhere else. You just come talk to us. Like, because we have given you good advice. And honestly, the answer is if I don't have the advice for you, I will do the research to find something for you. Like, that's something that fits.
That's awesome.
I'd rather you came in and talked and handled guns 5 times before you bought something, rather than me selling you 5 different guns because you're unhappy. Now, if you buy 5 different guns because you just change your mind every 5 seconds, I'll sell you the 5 guns. I'm happy to do that. But I prefer that, you know, if you're, and part of that's, I work hard for my money, so my money's valuable. Like, I don't want to give it away for nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all about building that relationship. And if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask or jump on our social media, ask. Like I answer most of the questions on the Facebook page. So, yeah.
So we asked one fun question.
Okay.
What's your favorite movie?
Man, probably my all-time feel-good favorite movie, and I've not seen the new one, but the original Lilo and Stitch.
Really?
Like I watched that movie all the way through college. Like that was my feel-good movie. Like I love that.
Have you watched the new one?
I have not.
I haven't either.
I haven't seen it yet. So I just heard. I think it was on Pandora one day this week that you can get it digitally now in your house. So
you can.
I kept saying I was going to go to the movie theater. I'd go pull my planner and show you what my planner looks like. I don't have time to go to the movies.
I understand that.
So. Yeah, Lilo and Stitch is one of my favorites, so that's probably the default.
I wasn't expecting that from you.
No, what'd you think?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, but I always get so random answers. Like
Yeah.
we had Melissa from Lasting Order on, and it's organizing. They organize people's houses, and hers was John Wick, and I was like,
Okay,
I was like, I did not expect John Wick from you. But that's cool.
I love the John Wick franchises. I love Nicolas Cage's Lord of War. I think that was the name of the movie, but where he's the gun runner. Like I love that.
Yeah.
You know, another fun one is Gattaca, which is a really weird sci-fi movie, but I've
never heard
of
it.
Yeah, I've watched it. I watched it in college. Like I really liked it too. Going back a few years now, the Matrix trilogy, particularly the first one, like
I've only watched this first one.
Yeah.
Everyone said don't watch any.
Yeah, don't watch the rest of them. They're okay, but it's you know. It's hard. I don't watch a lot of TV anymore.
You're a busy man.
I'm a busy guy, and honestly, most of the time I prefer to sit and read a book than watch TV. So I spend a lot of time reading. So,
awesome, sweet. And then our last one is if you could have everyone, or who would you like to watch on the show? Who's like 3 companies in Evansville that you'd like to see?
3 companies in Evansville that I'd like to see. Got a buddy. He owns Ray's Heating and Air.
Okay.
So his name's Brian. He's a real good customer at the shop. He and I have talked back when I was behind the counter a lot more than I am now. He and I would have conversations on a fairly regular basis about just running businesses and just different philosophies and employees and that kind of stuff. Like just. So he would be a good one. I really liked talking with Brian. I'd really like to hear the story of Noche, the taco place on Franklin Street.
Okay.
Just because I've eaten there a half dozen times and I really, really like it. It's pretty good food. And then, man, I'm gonna leave somebody out. Somebody's gonna be upset with me when I skip them. But
it's okay. Comment and we'll have you on the show.
Yeah. The other one, I'd love to hear the story of Yak and Yeti. And I don't know that guy's name.
My wife loves Yak and
But he's a customer in the shop, and I keep saying I'm going to make it down to his restaurant. And I live in Posey County, and I try not to go to the east side of Evansville very often, and so we don't make it over there very often. But that's I think he's got a neat name, so I want to hear what the rest of the story is.
Okay.
So
well, there we go. Well, look forward, subscribe, so you can see all those cool people on the show.
Yeah.
Lord willing. So,
all right, man.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.